Hello, welcome back to King's Academy. This is Salin again. Such a pleasure to have you here again in this next video tutorial about common English phrases. This is Common English Phrases Series 2. So, I am from King's Academy. We teach IELTS, OET and Spoken English. We are situated in Kerala, India. You can always reach me by my app, and you have text messaging, voice messaging system. You can reach me in my WhatsApp and my website and Facebook. Well, this is the series number 2. I hope you really enjoyed the first lesson in which I have explained a lot, more than 150 common English phrases usages. Today I'm coming up with the next series, right? Okay, let's move on to the next lesson. Right. Okay, lesson 1. The first one I'm going to teach you for not having any opinion. Sometimes if someone asks you and you don't have any opinion and you say that, well, I don't think I can make an opinion. Well, you can say that I have never given it much thought, or I haven't given it much thought. Maybe you could say I don't have strong feelings either way. Maybe you don't have any opinion in a good way or bad way. Agreementally, disagreementally, if you say that, you can say I don't have strong feelings either way. Or sometimes if you want to say I have no opinion, you could say it doesn't make any difference to me whether it is good or bad, positive or negative. And or else you could say I have no opinion on the matter. So this is something you can use it if you want to say I have no opinion, no comments. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's it. Okay, let's jump on to the next lesson. Right, lesson 2, have to make an agreement. If someone asks you something like that, well, Mr. John is the best batsman, or he's very good at writing. Maybe you could say one. Exactly, absolutely, he did fantastically. Or else you could say, that's so true, that's for sure. Yeah, if you say that, yeah, you're 100% agreeing, you could say, I agree 100%. Well, I couldn't agree with you more. If you want to say you're absolutely, completely agreeing with something, you could say, I couldn't agree with you more. And sometimes you might say, that's exactly what I think. And sometimes, yeah, I suppose so. So these are the different ways of expressing agreement. So the most common informal way is that, yeah, that's true, that's for sure. And in English, we often say absolutely, exactly, yeah, sure, of course, I agree that. I agree 100%, right? So these are the common ways we use in spoken English, how we agree with something, some information or some fact, right? Well, let's move on to the third lesson, how to make disagreement. Yeah, in our conversation, everyday usage, sometimes we may have to disagree with your friend, or some kinds of comments or opinion, you may have to disagree. So how are you going to do that? You would say that I'm afraid, a little bit more polite, I'm afraid, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. And if you want to disagree with the fact or information, you'd say I don't agree to that view. Okay, or if the person, you say, yeah, I don't agree with you, I'm sorry, I'm afraid. Then you could say, I'm not sure about it, all right? I'm not sure about that. That's not how I see it. Not necessarily. If you are, partially agreeing, and if you want to disagree slightly, you can say, not completely, not necessarily. Yeah, sometimes you may say, yes, but I have a different view, I'm sorry. Okay, that's how we disagree with your friend or with some information or a fact. And if you say something very, and if you want to disagree completely and opposing that view, informal way we would say on the contrary actually. So we'd say on the contrary actually. And sometimes we would say no way actually. That's a very informal way of expressing your disagreement. No way. And if you want to express your disagreement very strongly, you may say, I totally disagree with that view. I'm sorry. Okay, I beg to differ. I have a different view. So these are the different ways you might say your disagreement. All right. So let's move on. Okay. Lesson 4, responding to good or bad news. If some of your friend comes to you and say, well, I have completed my IELTS with a 7. I got 4.7 actually. Then what would you say? Congratulations. That's great. How wonderful. Awesome. I think these are the popular, common ways of, responding to good news. That should be the way we have to use in English. So how would you say next time someone comes to you? I got a job. So you would say what? Congratulations. Oh, that's great. How wonderful. Or you could say what? Awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. That's amazing. How I really congratulate you on that. Awesome. Amazing. That's great. Fantastic. So that's how we should appreciate your friend or someone when they come to us with some good news. Well, on the other hand, if someone comes to you with some bad news, which is unfortunately not really a happy information, happy news, so what would you say in that situation? Let's see that. So, well, we would say, oh no, I'm sorry. Or if someone comes to you and say, I'm sorry, I couldn't achieve a great score in IELTS. My writing was just 6. So what would you say? Oh no. All right. So, and if some of your friend, if your friend lost his job and he comes to you and tell you he lost his job, so what would you say? Oh, that's terrible. That's so terrible. Or you could say what? Oh, poor you. Yeah, we are so sorry about that person. We would say, oh, poor you. Right? Yeah. Oh, so that's very sad. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry about that. So sometimes you could say, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry to hear that. So these are some of the ways we express our grief or our sorry, our sadness, if you want to respond to some bad news. So that's terrible. That's really very popular. A poor you, that's a very informal way of telling you someone that how sad state is he. Okay. Yeah. So let's move on to lesson 5. Offering and responding to an offer. This is a very popular and it's very important for you. If you work in a company or if you study in a college and you got mingled with some of your peer groups and your friends, suddenly jump on you and say, well, are you free, Tom? Are you free on Saturday? So it means what? It sounds like they are offering you something. So maybe they are offering a party or a dinner or asking you to come for a party or something like that. So let's see how offering and how to respond to an offer when you get an offer. So the first thing I'm going to teach you, if you want to offer something, so you could use one. Hi Tom, are you free on Saturday evening? Are you free on Sunday evening? Are you free on Sunday? Are you free on weekend? Or maybe you could say what? Are you doing anything during the weekend? Right? Yeah, that's another way we can ask someone, are you free? Or are you doing anything on the weekend? Or if you want to use something very informal, you can say what? Do you want to come to my home for a dinner? Yeah, that's another way, in a very friendly, informal way. If you want to ask your friend whether he's interested to come over and dine with you for a dinner, so you could say what? Well, do you want to come to my home for dinner tonight? Yeah, that's a very pretty interesting informal way of asking or offering a person a dinner. Then, yeah, let's look at the another one. Would you like to join me for a dinner at my home, for example? Or do you want to come to my home for a dinner? Would you like to join me for a lunch? Yeah, that's also another way of telling or expressing an offer or offering someone some kind of favor, right? Then the next one, if you want to ask someone whether he's interested to eat something, so you can ask what? Can I get you something to eat? If someone comes to your home, and so what should be the first phrase coming from your mouth? Yeah, in English, we say what? Can I get you something to eat? Or can I get you something to drink? And, or what? Do you want some water? If you want, you can ask them whether a person needs some water. Or would you like to drink a coffee? Or would you like a drink? That's also a very beautiful way of offering something or asking something whether they need or not. And what if, if you ask someone an offer, or what if you offer something to a person and that person responds in a very, very friendly, positive manner? So how would it be? So they could definitely respond in a number of different ways. That's what I'm going to talk now. So you could use what? I would love to. If someone asks you, would you like to have a cuppa? Would you like to have a coffee? So maybe they would say what? I would love to. Yes. Or if someone asks you, would you like to come with me for a dinner? Maybe you could say, I would love to. Yeah. Maybe you could say in another way, sounds great. Yeah. If you're really agreeing with that idea, and if you want to say yes, so you could say, sounds great. Sounds great. And the other one, yes, I would love to. But if you want to, deny that offer, but you want to express in a very polite manner, so maybe you can say, I would love to, but actually I have another commitment. I'm sorry. So you should be very polite, very decent. Otherwise, you would never get any offer from that person anymore. That will be the last offer. Okay, right. Or else, if you want to disagree, or if you want to deny an offer in a very polite manner, you can use, I don't think I can, I'm sorry. Or you can say what? Maybe another time. Or, so if you want to say yes, that would be great. Thanks. So often, very often, or all the time, use thanks with these phrases. Okay, that would be great. Thanks. No thanks, I'm okay. So if you want to say no to an offer, say that. No thanks, I'm okay. I'm comfortable. I'm sorry, I have another commitment. No, thank you. No thanks, I'm okay. So someone asks you, would you like to come with me for a dinner? Oh, no thanks, I'm okay. I'm all right. Yeah. So that's also very, very popular ways of offering and responding to offers, right? Let's move on to the other lesson. Come on. Asking for basic details. Well, okay, this is, I think, yeah, one second. Asking for basic details, yes, right. So how do you ask basic details of a person? There are a number of different ways we can ask a person about his whereabouts, where does he stay, what kind of job does he do. So we can ask in different ways, like, where do you work? Then, what do you do? What do you do for a living? And they can say, I work at a bank, I work at a restaurant. Or else, what do? You can say, I'm an accountant, I'm a doctor, I'm a dentist. Maybe if you don't have any job, you could say, I'm unemployed, I'm a student. I'm looking for a job actually at the moment. Yeah, I don't work at the moment. I'm looking for a job. Yeah, so these are the popular ways you can say that. Yeah, what do you do, whether you work or if you're looking for a job. Sometimes you can say what? I'm a stay-at-home mom. Yeah, if you don't have any job, and you can say, I'm a stay-at-home mom, or I'm a stay-at-home dad. Or else you can say, I run my own business. I'm a freelance journalist, I'm a freelance writer, I'm a freelance fashion designer, dancer, or musician, whatever you can say it. Yeah, or else you can say what? If you're retired, very old, you can say, I'm retired. Okay, let's move on to our lesson number 7. Okay, asking for clarification. This is very important, guys. So especially if you're attending IELTS exams in a speaking session, if you don't understand what the examiner is talking about, or in an interview, or in your common conversation, or in a daily usage, when you are talking to a person, wherever in a company. So if you don't understand, there are two instances. Maybe you don't understand what the speaker is talking about, so you have to say that, well, pardon, I'm sorry, would you mind repeating that? So the best common way is what? Pardon. Pardon means, I'm sorry, can you repeat? The next one, I'm sorry, what do you mean? I don't understand. I'm not sure I follow you, which is very, 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 look at that. I'm not sure I follow you. This is really popular, really formal, and very decent. Then the next one, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Could you explain again? This is a very, very beautiful, very polite. You can say that. And let's see another instant, checking whether the listener understands. How do you check when you speak with someone, and if you want to check whether the listener really follows you or understands you? So how do we make sure that? So you can say, do you understand what I'm saying about? Right? Yeah, make sure that this is a very good way of good communication skills, and very good way of talking to a person, making sure that the listener really understands. So you should often make sure that, yeah, are you really following me? Do you really understand what I'm talking? And sometimes we may check whether the listener understands, asking, does that make sense? Yeah. So, does that make sense to you? Which means, are you really following me? Do you really understand? Do you really approve of that? And otherwise you can say, do you know what I mean actually? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so if I'm talking about a lot of things in English grammar, IELTS, and reading, writing, and you don't follow anything, there's no point. So I would often check, yeah, do you really follow me? Are you really following me? Do you know what I mean actually? Does that make sense to you? Yes. Or else you can use this one. This is also very popular. Are you with me so far? I'm just checking you. Yes, so I often check my students whether they really follow me, they really understand what I'm talking about. So to making sure that my students are really following me, so I would sometimes use this phrase, are you with me so far, guys? Are you following me? Are you with me so far? That is also very, very popular way of making sure, checking whether the listener really follows you or understands you. And the easiest way is very common, popular one. Is that clear? Well, clear? Or sometimes you say clear? Yeah. So the full the full sentence is that clear to you? Is that clear? Yes. Let's move on to the next one. Lesson number 8, asking for help actually. Well, there are different ways you could ask help from a person. Okay. So the first one, could you give me a hand? Could you give me a hand? Or that is usually for asking for some physical task actually. And sometimes people ask in different way. Could you spare a couple of minutes? Okay. Could you spare a couple of minutes for me? Or else the easy way, could you do me a favor? Could you do me a favor? So in a more formal way, we would say what? Would you mind buying a notebook for me? Okay, I would give you the change. Would you mind helping me? Would you mind open the door for me? Would you mind bring a cup of coffee for me? All right, this is a very formal, very polite way. That's, I think, the most common in a formal setup. The other one, could you please turn off the lights? Could you please turn down the TV, which means can you decrease the volume? Could you please turn down the TV? Could you please turn off the lights? And the informal way, people say, can you pass the pen? Can you pass? That's very informal, not really polite. Can you pass me the notebook? Can you pass me the food? Can you pass me the chicken? Can you pass me the burger? Yes. And sometimes we don't go in a, that elaborate sentence structures, and we simply make in a very short form, but make sure you use please. Yeah. So when you want to ask something, you can just say please. Well, please send me the information. Informal, but it's okay. But please is very, very important. And the other one, I would appreciate if you could send me some food for me, okay? Or if you could buy some food for me, right? So I would appreciate if you could buy a notebook for me. I would appreciate, okay? I would appreciate if you could help me finishing my assignments tonight, okay? That is a much formal, very polite way. I would appreciate if you could. So I would really appreciate you that if you help me finishing my work tonight, okay? That's very, very formal, right? The next one, lesson number 9, ways to interrupt someone, okay? How do you interrupt someone when they are in something, when they are in the midst of something, but you want to interrupt and you want to ask something? So how do you say that? Yeah, the best common and the most useful phrase is, sorry to interrupt you, or excuse me, could I talk to you for a minute? Yeah, that's a very, very, very common, popular one, very decent and polite. Or you can say, do you have a minute to spend? Can you spare a minute with me? Okay. Could I jump in here? So if you want to interrupt, you want to jump in when two people are talking and you want to jump in, you can say, could I jump in here? Right. So the other way, sorry, I just want to say that. Yeah, if you want to just interrupt with someone and if you want to say something, suddenly you can say, sorry, I just want to say that. Or there's another formal way, may I have a word with you? This is a very, very formal and polite way. So may I have a word with you? That's very important. And could I talk to you for a minute? May I have a word with you? Sorry to interrupt you. These are the best options of interrupting with someone, okay? Sorry to interrupt you. May I have a word with you? Yes, maybe. May I have a word with you? I want to know, how is your brother actually? Is he okay? And has he finished his exam? Right. So if you want to talk about, jump in someone, and if you want to ask anything about with a person. Right. So the last lesson for today, lesson 10, to suggest or recommend. Well, if you want to recommend something to a person, and if you want to suggest something, how do you speak in English? There are different ways. The easy way is, well, if you want to suggest OET or IELTS to your friend, if your friend is planning about OET, and if you want to suggest IELTS, so what would you say? How about appearing IELTS exam? So how about, that's a very, very easy way. How about drinking a juice? How about drinking a tea now? Then the next one, why don't you talk to your boss? See, why don't you? If you are really suggesting your friend, if suppose your friend has a lot of problems and she's facing a lot of problems in the company and she's explaining everything to you and you want to suggest, well, why don't you talk to your boss? That is another way of suggesting something, recommending something. Well, why don't you change your job? Why don't you think about talking to your boss? Okay, right. And there's another one, if you really seriously recommending something to your friend. So how do you express that? Maybe you should, okay? Maybe you should. So maybe you should do more research in that program, okay? Maybe you should do more homework. Maybe you should do more research in your assignment. Maybe you should read more books. maybe you should read more books, or maybe you should refer more books in the library. Okay, maybe you should talk to your brother, maybe you should talk to your teacher. Okay, so maybe you should, that means you are seriously recommending something very seriously but in a polite manner. Then the next one, yes, I will recommend you to see something, a doctor. So I would recommend, yeah, I would recommend to see a doctor. Yeah, so the another one, so I would recommend you, if you want to say to your friend that he should see a doctor, you can say I would recommend you to see a dash. Okay, yeah, so I see a doctor, I would recommend to you write again the exam, I would recommend you to appear exam one more time, I would recommend you to see a doctor. Then have you thought about, that is another way of suggesting something. Have you thought about buying a new laptop? Your laptop is completely broken and you can talk about, and someone is asking you, or if your friend's laptop is broken and if you want to suggest something, have you thought about buying a new laptop? Have you thought about going a family trip on? Have you thought about planning a trip to Delhi? Have you thought about writing IELTS exam? Have you thought about it? Which means recommending you something. Okay, so I hope you really enjoy these 10 lessons, and there will be another lessons about English phrases, usages and idioms. Okay, so I hope you really enjoy it. Repeat, study these phrases, speak all the time, speak fluently. When you study it, repeat it, say repeatedly over and again, speak fluently, and you can finish it. And within a few days you can be very fluent in English, and you need to practice with these phrases all the time. All right, thank you very much. Bye bye.